Hello and welcome back to Frogboy X1 Gaming. I'm Andrew, and today we are taking a look at Guardians of the Galaxy versus Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart. So, I'm probably going to get told this is an unfair comparison or whatever, but let's look at this because both of these games launched this year. Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart launched earlier. Guardians of the Galaxy launched just a couple of months ago. Maybe a month ago. I don't know. So, basically, is what the news media and everything would like you to believe is that Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart is the best looking game this year. Well, I don't know, man. I kind of beg to differ because I've played a lot of games this year. So I mean, I guess if you're on PlayStation, $70 games, you're probably not going to get to play as many freaking games. And Guardians of the Galaxy, I am playing this on Xbox Series X because that's where I bought it. Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart is clearly on PlayStation. Now, I cannot guarantee that Guardians of the Galaxy looks as good as it does on Series X on the PlayStation 5. Like, I cannot guarantee that. I don't know. I did not buy a PlayStation copy. Maybe I will buy a PlayStation copy and, redo this, this comparison with the PlayStation version of this game. But as you can see, both of these are running on my 1440p monitor. Both of these are running in the ray tracing mode. So the ray tracing mode is going to cap them at 30 frames per second. The Guardians of the Galaxy will have dynamic resolution because of that. So it'll be anywhere from, it could, go anywhere from, I don't know, like 1440p up to 4K. So it is still running in the 4K mode. But in really heavy taxing scenes, it'll probably drop that resolution. I don't know. Like as far as I've been playing it, I haven't seen any like major like really big drops or anything. It's so far it's been pretty clean to me. Whereas Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart is running at 4K checkerboard at 30 frames per second with ray tracing. So you guys have probably already seen my other video doing the comparison between Forza Horizon 5. So to me, Forza Horizon 5 is the best looking game. Right underneath that, it would be Guardians of the Galaxy, then Halo Infinite for me. Those would be my three choices. Ratchet and Clank is definitely in the top 5 for me this year. But I've played a lot of games. I would say Ratchet and Clank is probably about 4. I like the way that Halo looks. I think Halo has way better textures, way better draw distance. Just some of those things when you're inside, like the buildings and stuff. I feel like the materials look a little bit better in Halo Infinite. That's not to take a slight at Ratchet and Clank, because what they did with Ratchet and Clank in the in the cutscenes, like the cutscenes on Ratchet and Clank look amazing. So the thing with Guardians of the Galaxy is most of these cutscenes and stuff that you see, these are all real time. Like the visuals do not change so drastically after the cutscene. The characters and the environments and everything stay crystal clear, really pin sharp. They look really good. There's far more detail in the Guardians of the Galaxy world than there is in the Ratchet and Clank world. And that's why I have to say that, like, my goodness, like, I understand the need and the will and the want to cap for Sony. Like, they are the market leader. Like, I get that. I understand that, Sony is the market leader, and, if you want to stay in their good graces, you probably have to say good things, but come on, guys. Like, you can see exactly what I'm seeing side by side on Ratchet and Clank and Guardians of the Galaxy. I mean, I feel like this is kind of a more fair thing because there's, it involves space and different planets and stuff like that. So I feel like this is probably the best comparison to make out of these. I can do one with Halo Infinite. I'm going to do another one with somebody else requested, another game. So like we'll do a couple of these. I'll keep using the same footage that I had for Ratchet and Clank. Maybe I'll switch it up with Halo. I'll do something different, maybe I want to try to avoid cutscenes, and in this game here, I was a little bit unable to because every time you go to a new planet, it's kind of like it starts off with like the cutscenes or like the talk and stuff like that. So with Guardians of the Galaxy is a little bit harder to do that, but just this accentuates just how beautiful this game is. Maybe I will try to get some cutscenes in Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart, because those do look phenomenal, and I think that's why everybody's like, oh my gosh, Ratchet and Clank's the best looking game. But then when you get in the world, like look at this world that we're in. We're gonna be going to the first world here, Guardians of the Galaxy, in just a second, but like look at this tree, man. Look how it blends around around Rivet right here. Uh, you get over here, you look at the textures and stuff, and I mean, like, they don't look bad by any means, but wow, wow, you know what I mean? Like, this world, I would say the world that we're on right now with Guardians of the Galaxy is about as big as this. No, I mean, I think maybe a little. I think this is one of the bigger worlds in Ratchet and Clank for sure. There's more area to go around and stuff like that. I probably should have to be completely honest, I probably should have like done a different recording for Ratchet and Clank, but man, I mean, if you're going to say a game is the best looking game, I would say that everything needs to be consistent. Everything needs to be consistent across the board. Every world needs to be consistent. This world here is probably one of my least favorite on Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart. I mean, like the cutscenes and stuff that were in this world were freaking great. Were great. They were amazing. They were really a great showcase of the cutscene power. But if you look over here at Guardians of the Galaxy, you could see the extremely high detailed textures. The extremely high detailed character model, the nice lighting, the shadow on some stuff, on the reflective surfaces, you can definitely see if you look out here in the distance, like look at all that detail. And I'm telling you, like when you're playing this in like on your 4K screen, these textures go all the way out in the distance. They look amazing out there in the distance. The draw distance looks a little bit bigger on Guardians of the Galaxy, and there's more texture, there's more granular detail all throughout. Like you look in this pink sludge right here, and you can actually see like texture. It's just not like some blob or a mess or something. You can actually see texture in everything, and the material work looks so good on this game, it's not even funny. That's why, like I really do question, like, hey man, why are we saying Ratchet and Clank is the best looking game and completely overlooking this? Because dude, if you ask me, this game looks freaking beautiful. The character models are great. The texture in that, look at that. There's so much texture, so much detail in there. Do you see the ray tracing and them shiny little round objects that Star-Lord's walking on? You could see the yeah, dude, like I just don't get it. Like look at Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart compared to this. And I assure you, every level in Guardians of the Galaxy does exhibit this high quality detail everywhere. Every single stage. Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart, I mean, look at this, man. Like, this is, one of the stages. You can go out anywhere on this stage, and like things start to fall apart the farther away you get from where you should be. So on this, now I'm switching to a different chapter on Guardians of the Galaxy. But if you look over here on Ratchet and Clank, like this is one thing that Ratchet and Clank really excels at. Loading times are freaking amazing, and when I switch from planet to planet on this, well, I don't know. I mean, because technically, in order to switch to another planet, I have to go all the way back to my ship, I have to get in my ship, select the location, and then go. So I kind of feel like the little bit of loading time, that we're experiencing with Guardians of the Galaxy, I mean, that was pretty quick. It wasn't super slow or anything, but, getting into the menu and then getting back into the world and like watching the little thing, that was pretty quick. Like, it was pretty quick. There's just, an overall satisfying, I wasn't trying to go to this level on Guardians of the Galaxy. I was trying to get to the part before you get to this part so that I could kind of, walk around and look at that world, because it kind of looks a little bit like this one, but on Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart. But all right, as you can see, like when you're walking down this thing, you can see the ray tracing. I mean, over here you can see where that whole background out there, it doesn't look anywhere as detailed as anything inside this. So I mean, Ratchet and Clank, the cutscenes, yeah, they do. They definitely look like a Pixar movie. They look great. They look really good. Out in the open world, though, on some stages, and that's the biggest reason I picked some of the stages that I did on Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart. Because I mean, yeah, dude, I could do it like all the other gaming websites do, and just go to the most beautiful ones that show off the most beautiful detail. But that's not fair to a game like Guardians of the Galaxy, where everything looks literally freaking beautiful from start to finish. This game is freaking phenomenal. There's no deviation in like world design or anything like that. Even when you get to the snow, one, it looks freaking beautiful. Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart, I think to me the most beautiful levels on this game were the underwater one. That one looked pretty freaking great. And then like the Nefarious City, like the first city you start in, stuff like that. But Ratchet and Clank does not have, it's not consistent all the way through. Like you saw the level if you watched the previous video with Forza Horizon. We get to a point in Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart where there's no longer ray tracing. Like the ray tracing is completely gone throughout the whole level. Like all the water and everything. Like there's no ray tracing there. It's all screen space reflection. And we were led to believe that this game featured full ray tracing in the 4K 30 mode. At least that's what I thought, because that's what was advertised and that's what was said, that we were going to get ray tracing in that. Well, it turns out that was not completely true, and that they are using screen space reflections as well as ray tracing in certain places. So all the big places, all the ones that were covered by the news outlets and all of that stuff, like Nefarious City or the first level or all of that stuff, all of those levels are definitely guaranteed to feature your ray tracing for you. But when you get to these bigger open outside worlds, the ones where you're either going to be riding on this, or you're going to be riding on the or you can go really fast, those levels are kind of omitting the whole freaking the ray tracing. And some of them don't even have and some of them, even in the other levels that do feature ray tracing, they also omit, they're also using screen space reflection as well. So Guardians of the Galaxy, as far as I've found so far in all of these levels, I have not seen it do the whole ray tracing where it where they're using screen space reflections as well. Like, I haven't seen that yet, but I'm still kind of like going through testing it, stuff like that, to make sure, because dude, I was just filming this video of the Ratchet and Clank to do these comparisons, and that's when I found it. That's when I stumbled upon it. I stumbled upon that, and I was like, wow, man, that doesn't make sense. I thought this game was fully ray traced, and that was the reason why we were dropping down to 30 frames a second and all of that stuff, because I don't. And this is a fair comparison, because Guardians of the Galaxy is running at 30 frames a second as well. Like, it just is. So when you get out here and you start to look at this stuff, Guardians of the Galaxy, standing next to Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart. Oh, I don't know if I found any bushes in this game. Like, this looks freaking beautiful. Like, I'm kind of glad I got this in there for you guys so you could see, just how great this looks, because I don't understand. Like, I don't, like, seriously, I don't understand. Look at this freaking game. Look at this game, man. Like, look at that freaking detail. Like, how can you say that this is not a better looking game than Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart, man? Like, seriously. I don't know, man. Maybe I'm just, you know, I don't get it, man. I don't understand how we've come to a point where we can't, as gamers, we can't just be honest and be like, hey, man, look, like, Ratchet and Clank looks good for what it is. Is it the best looking game this year? No. Like, watch how fast you, like, look at the loading in here. So I'll pick my planet or whatever. I'll pick my planet on Ratchet and Clank, and then look, boom. Like, watch how fast this freaking thing gets me to there. Fades to black, boom, right there. You can see the planet. All this is obviously loading, and then fades to black. There you go. There's Ratchet landing on the planet. That's pretty fast loading for the most part. Like, if you ask me. You're not seeing any pop-in Ratchet and Clank. You're not seeing any pop-in on Guardians of the Galaxy either. You are looking around. I mean, like, see, these are the textures on Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart. I mean, and then you look at Guardians of the Galaxy. I mean, I don't know, man. Like, this is a beautiful world on Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart. Don't get me wrong. Like, this is pretty beautiful. But I mean, gosh, dang. When you're looking at these side by side, I don't know, man. Like, I'm inclined to go with Guardians of the Galaxy, man. Like, it just looks far better than what the other one does. And like, those are real-time cutscenes, man. They're not, I mean, yeah, they're obviously stylized and stuff, you know, like shadowing, stuff like that, and it looks pretty dang good. Like yeah, I don't. Oh, and Guardians of the Galaxy does in fact use Dolby Vision on Xbox Series X, so that does add to the beauty of that game even more. Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart, like, it looks good. It definitely looks good. I'm not saying that this game doesn't look good. I'm just saying, like I said, man, I believe Guardians of the Galaxy is just a better looking game. I mean, when you're going fast on Ratchet and Clank, you're not seeing pop-in. I'm not seeing pop-in. I don't see pop-in on this game when I'm playing it. You got really good freaking... whoa, jump over that mountain. That's pretty cool. Like, I do like the way that Ratchet looks. Don't get me wrong. Like, this game is pretty nice. I believe this is the biggest world on Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart. Like, this is the biggest one. So, if you look at the textures and all the detail and everything else that's going on in this, you can see that clearly, you know, there's a lot of work that went into this game. Like, don't get me wrong. Ratchet and Clank looks great. But, I mean, looking at freaking... at Guardians of the Galaxy, looking like right next to it, there's no way I could ever say that Ratchet and Clank looks better than Guardians of the Galaxy. That's just not something I could possibly do. Like, it doesn't make any sense. It just defies everything. I mean, in Guardians of the Galaxy, the game is consistent all the way through in its beauty, in its detail, in its character models. I mean, if you look at the hair on these guys, it's not all checkerboarded out. It doesn't look messed up. I mean, Ratchet and Clank, for the most part, fur on Ratchet and Rivet, really, really freaking high quality. But when you look at, you know, I mean, just look at Rocket when you see him. Like, look at his fur. That looks great. That looks amazing. That looks just as good, if not better, than Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart, man. I mean, that's, you know, when you would see, you know, Ratchet. I mean, I guess you could try to do something like where you're holding them both up, like in like a close-up view or something, and maybe count like each individual piece of fur, you know, and see which one has more, and then say one's better or not. But to me, like, you really can't like it's not that discernible of a difference to be like, oh yeah, man, one fur looks better than the other. So, in my opinion, I'm going with Guardians of the Galaxy is looking better than Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart. And like I said earlier in the video, I will be doing a few more of these to just kind of show you where I think Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart visuals fall in terms of, you know, games like Halo Infinite. Yeah, I mean, we already did Forza Horizon. And the reason why I did Forza Horizon 5 first is because that was the game that everybody at Digital Foundry that looked at it were talking about, like, oh my gosh, this is the best looking game we've seen this far. You know, Alex Battaglia talking about how, oh yeah, these forests are looking way better than, you know, anything in Crisis, and I just want to get out and walk around in them. It's things like that that really start to make you, I mean, like, the screen space reflections on this right here, they were disappearing right and through here, but I just didn't notice. I didn't notice it until after the fact, but that was kind of weird. It wasn't until just a minute until I actually started seeing like the use of screen space reflection. Like right here, I was I wasn't expecting the screen space reflections to disappear, but then they do. It wasn't until I was actually up here a little bit and found out, like, oh my gosh, man, another thing that kind of shattered my disbelief. I thought for sure this game had all the ray tracing everywhere until it just wasn't there. I mean, like, look at this, look at the high detail levels in this ship for these guys. Like, it's amazing. Like, you got beautiful looking visuals in there. I'll get to a little bit of fighting on this game as well. I was just trying to, the episodic, I mean, not episodic, but the level thing makes it a little bit hard to go back. You have to play each chapter on Guardians of the Galaxy, so it's a little bit harder to like get content. And I just wanted to do like a non-cut, like 30 minutes of just straight, you know, getting into the game and going through it and stuff. I mean, I guess I could have just stayed on one planet for 30 minutes or whatever, but then I wouldn't be able to show you like the variety of what's going on is like I'm doing in Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart. I mean, I guess I should have been watching my Ratchet and Clank footage when I was doing this to try to line it up as best as I could, but if you look, you know, at this, this is where it first dawned on me, is over there. When I pan the camera down, I see all the reflections disappear over here in the puddle that I'm going to walk over next to. That's when the illusion fell apart, is when I noticed that. And then I got closer and I'm like, wait a minute, the screen space reflection, yep, they're disappearing. That's when it kind of fell apart for me with Ratchet and Clank, and now I just kind of feel lied to about it. I feel even more a little bit upset than I did before, because look, we're at fidelity, 30 frames per second mode, man. HDR on. And as you can tell, both of these are a little bit zoomed in. Not like way far zoomed in, just kind of cropped a little bit to where you can kind of get a better sense of, you know, the detail on both of them, so that, you know, it seems a little more fair or whatever. But I mean, basically, is what we're looking at is, you know, textures, quality of materials. It definitely looks much better on the on the Guardians of the Galaxy for sure. Now we're going to another level that's kind of farther into the game. This one here's got, like, you know, like the reflective surfaces and all of that stuff. But right when we get into this level, it's like, oh, like, look at all that detail right there in the background, and all that's running in real time. It's not it's not a cutscene. This is one of those things where, like, I'm telling you, like, the consistency in Guardians of the Galaxy is complete all the way through. Like, this was one heck of a freaking game, man. This is one heck of a 20-hour game. Like, it was 20 hours from start to finish. I think I finished it in about 20 hours. Definitely a challenging, interesting game, really fun, lots of lots of banter and everything. Like it was like, wow, man, this is great. And for it to last as long as it did, I was extremely happy with that. I mean, you see all the reflections right here disappearing on Ratchet and Clank. I mean, I don't care that they use screen space reflection. I don't care. Like, to me, I think ray tracing is literally a waste of resources. It's literally a waste. It's cool to have, but really at 30 frames a second, that just even on Guardians of the Galaxy, man, like the 30 frames a second actually felt. I mean, the 30 frames a second actually felt pretty smooth on Guardians of the Galaxy to be completely honest. Um, I mean, it feels all right, I guess, right here on Ratchet and Clank as well. But I mean, it's obviously playable, like that right there. Yeah, there's just so much detail and everything in that space station. It's not even funny. So much freaking detail. Such a great. That's such a great freaking just display of, like, when I knew right when I popped in Guardians of the Galaxy, man, and I was playing that first stage and I was seeing all that detail in there. I was like, wow, this is beautiful. I mean, to me, like, honestly, I think Guardians of the Galaxy and Forza Horizon 5 could literally be tied for best visuals of the year for me. They both look amazing. They both look really strong, really good. Um, Forza, kind of just edges out just a little bit for me just because it is an open world racing game that looks that good. So I'm like, wow. But both of them hold up really good on the textures, especially Guardians of the Galaxy, man. Like, wow. I just don't even think Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart is even in the same. I just don't think Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart is even in the same type of. Oh man, I don't know, man. I don't think it's even close to be. I don't think it's even close to Guardians of the Galaxy, to be completely honest with you. I would say it's closer to Halo Infinite in terms of no, not even that, dude. Halo Infinite's textures look way better than Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart, man. Look at all that. Yeah, dude, that really freaking irritated me. Those are screen space reflections when I saw that, because I was led to believe that I thought that everything was like 100% ray tracing in Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart, and I mean, yeah. So right there, that's when you see, like, oh my gosh, man. Like, I feel like I'm sick and tired of being lied to with Sony and their games and stuff. Like, yeah, they look great or whatever. I'm grateful that they do try to push the envelope for visuals and stuff, but to sit and have to cap for Sony, man, like, I just can't do that anymore, man. They've let me down so many times with it's not their developers. Like, the developers for Sony games are freaking amazing. Like, these guys are great. They do hard work. They try to build the best visual showcases that we can see, but sometimes the games on PlayStation feel a little bit shallow, I mean, like, I like games like The Order 1886. I've liked games like like a lot of the games they make, it's just, gosh, sometimes they just feel a little bit shallow. And then you start seeing stuff like this, like, wait, where's my reflection? Oh shoot, Ratchet's reflection disappears. You know, that, honestly, to be completely honest, might just be the way, the camera's like making it so that I can't see a reflection on the water surface. So I mean, Ratchet's reflection might still be like ray traced, but when you look out there in the distance and you see stuff like disappearing, like from screen space, that's when you know that that's not ray tracing. When you pan the camera up and down, and if they disappear once the starting to get out of screen space view, that's when you know that they are screen space reflections and they are not real ray tracing. So as you can see, they disappear, and then when you bring the camera back, they're there. That is what you would call screen space reflection, and not ray tracing. So as you can see, like, I tried to keep these. I mean, you can see like the detail in Guardians of the Galaxy is just much freaking higher than anything that's on Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart, man. Like it just is. I mean, Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart is good for what it is, but when it really comes down to it, it it just goes to show that this is what our industry has come to, man. We're becoming panderers to certain companies, and we're not really looking at games the way we should be. You know, we're putting too much emphasis on the wrong things in gaming, and we're starting to push. You know, we're starting to push things in the wrong direction. Like, let's be honest as gamers, man. That's all we need to do. I mean, we can try to pander to Sony all we want, but at the end of the day, I think this game here looks far better. So, if you like this content, don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. Let you just finish up.